strong leader, and he tells me, yes, that's you. He agreed that we should celebrate this event in December. So you will be hearing more about that. So I think one of the plans is to show the film Crocodile, not Crocodile, the Answers film, and Lord Ashdown himself has offered to come up and help us to celebrate. We'll have to consider exercise on that bit. So I wanted to tell you about that. The other announcement is to do with tonight's agenda. Having consulted with the 3 party leaders, we're going to bring question time forward to after item number 4. So that's what some of us have done before. Okay? And that is the only announcements I have. So now on to petitions. So I've just been reminded of something before which I won't say today. Yes, the Mercia regiment are shortly coming back from Afghanistan, and we're going to celebrate that in a few weeks' time. We'll all be notified about it, and it'll be a wonderful occasion for us all to get out and congratulate them on the wonderful work they've been doing. Thanks, Cheryl. Okay, that brings us to petitions. Stephen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Petition 244 name requesting that New Valley become an alcohol-free zone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a petition from the residents of Hazeldean Way. The dreadful state of the roads, they're in a bad state of repair, and they've taken the time and trouble to get a petition together, so I'd like to put that forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Norbury.
I've got a petition from the Samuel Hall Residents Association signed by 44 residents regarding the one-way system installed on the road. I'd like to see that taken back to a two-way street and a restriction for the people using the weed shops, basically.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a petition from 202 residents of Sorghum Ashley asking the council to preserve a 100-year-old ash tree that they were intending to pull down.
Any more petitions? Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the staff report. To receive the minutes of the recent meeting on the 17th of May. Is that agreed that they be accepted? And seconded. Okay, they are agreed. Thank you very much. That brings on to the item which we brought forward. Questions. Two questions. One from the Right Honourable Frank Field, first. I should tell you, by the way, it's Frank's birthday today. And it's his 3rd birthday too.
Many more.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask the question for which I gave notice to the leader of the council, if you could report what progress you've been able to take since receiving the Audit Commission's report on the Hesky contract?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that question, Frank. And before I reply to that, can I say thank you for the work that you've done in relation to this issue. I'll obviously be making a more detailed statement later on the agenda. But just suffice to say that I can inform him and council that following publication of the public interest report on the 8th of June, I issued a statement in which I accepted all the recommendations in the public interest report. I asked for an initial preliminary investigation to be carried out into the issues raised in that report to help me determine what further action needed to be taken to ensure that all the lessons were learned and all the relevant persons could be held to account. I said that I'd be seeking an early meeting with the leaders of the other 2 parties to discuss the report with a view to agreeing an all-party approach to tackling the issues raised. This meeting subsequently took place and the 3 leaders agreed to work together on this matter for the benefit of the borough. I I also said that I wanted the issues raised in the public interest report to be discussed by the Improvement Board and full council. And following further discussion between party leaders, on the 28th of June, I took the decision to suspend 3 members of staff who have both statutory and line management responsibilities for the corporate governance functions where failures were identified in the report. I took this action in order to ensure that the findings in the public interest report are properly investigated. I stated at the time, and I make clear again this evening, that suspension is a neutral act and an investigation will be undertaken to determine whether there is a case to answer. Finally, there is still a lot of work to be done in response to the 21 recommendations in the public interest report. This will be taken forward as part of our overall improvement plan with DRUMA, with advice from the Local Government Association and others. However, I'm determined that we learn the lessons from what went wrong, that people are held to account, that we take decisive action in response to the district auditor's findings, and that this is done in an open and transparent way. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary point?
Mr Mayor, may I thank you, the Leader of the Council, for that reply. Might I also say to him that while this report shows that there are some dangers for our authority, it does create an environment of great opportunity. And given that it's crucially important that we now put party affections aside and begin to put the crucial importance of all the citizens of the Wirral. In that spirit, 2 weeks ago, in speaking to the leader, I gave him notice of how I would respond to his to that first question. I asked him whether he would comment on the fact that had the council acted as resolutely as it appears, thankfully, it is now doing over this report, when it received the report on Cheshire Lines, we would not be in the serious state that we are in today. I also asked him whether he was aware of the support that I've experienced from people across the world for the resolute actions that within the law he is attempting to take, and that the citizens of this borough do wish this time for the conclusions of the report to be taken through fully wherever they might lead. But also, during that conversation, I stressed my own view that one of the crucial needs for Wirral now is to change its political culture. In that, whereas before, being a peninsula, we somehow think that the wisdom of the nation is all contained here in the Wirral, and that there are a few lessons to learn outside. And that I did hope that when he was looking with the leadership here that he has in this council and the joint approach from the other parties, in his attempt to rebuild a political culture here which is effective as well as outward-looking, but he will be looking to the outside world for those things which work really well, as well as looking in Wirral at those matters to which we can make a contribution, not only to our own citizens, but begin to perhaps teach others a way forward. And that he has to achieve this when there are now 2 overmighty pressures on the budget. And they are budgets for the care of elderly people and for vulnerable children. There is nothing most of us can do about the budget that the council will be given for elderly care. But we don't have to sit idly by and let the budget continually expand in respect to the number of children whose circumstances are so chaotic that the council has to do more than the services it already provides, but to step in and take action. So those, Mr Mayor, were the supplementary questions I gave to the leader when we spoke about this a couple of years ago, and I hope it begins to show that in this particular time in our history in the world, it's vital that we put aside attempts to score at one another and begin to think what's
received from Frank and from many residents in response to the action that we've taken. And I do agree with him that we do need to change the political culture in the way we do business in this council. And I thank Jeff and Tom for working with me to begin to make that change, and that needs to gather pace and momentum. I would agree, again, with one of your supplementary points, Frank, that one of the council's failings is that we don't often learn the lessons from critical reports. You mentioned the Cheshire Lines public interest report published in the autumn of 2005. And rereading that again last night, I was struck by how many of the same themes in that report 7 years ago are also mentioned in the report that we've got on our agenda tonight. For example, weak corporate governance, lack of concern for value for money, members taking decisions on the basis of incomplete and inadequate information, and insufficient challenge during the project, and poor project management. And obviously other similar things like this have been highlighted in subsequent critical reports, which we've discussed in this council chamber over the last 12 months. And I think it's right to make the point that we need to start to learn the lessons from previous reports. The way we've dealt with these kind of issues in the past has got to change. We do need to look to the outside world, look at good practice elsewhere, and that's part of the work that we're doing by the Local Government Association and the Improvement Board. And I hope that collectively we can change the way that we react, and that that this process will be the start of changing the culture, so that we can end up with a high-performing council which works in an open, transparent way with services that our residents can be proud of. Thank you.
Okay,
Ma'am, I can just ask to have recorded in your minutes my thanks to whistleblowers who have actually given us opportunity to be authoritative.
I'm sure that'll be the
So I'll go and join the public gallery if I may, and remain quiet.
Councillor, if you will actually be saying more about that in the next minutes. Right, we've got the next question, which has been previously recorded, and that is from Mr. Grace. Oh, Mr. Grace.
This question is for Councillor Anne McLaughlin, who's the Cabinet Member for Improvement and Governance. Will councillors changing and the perception of it is changing following the publication of the Martin Smith, Canal Street and Hester Feeder report? Could you please give answers to the following related questions? A. What are the current interim measures in place to ensure continuity of service following the suspension of the Director of Technical Services, Director of Finance, Director of Law, Human Resources and Asset Management and Deputy Director of Finance? B. What are the approximate timescales for Wirral Council implementing the various recommendations made in the report mentioned earlier in this question? And also, more importantly, what are the governance and accountability requirements
approximate timescales for Wirral Council implementing the various recommendations made in the reports mentioned earlier in this question, and also, more importantly, what are the governance and accountability surrounding them, for example, the Cabinet and the Joint Improvement Board. The Council is committed to ensuring all recommendations that are made and the changes required to improve the Council's corporate governance and accountability are implemented fully and as soon as possible. The Improvement Board that has been established has and continues to assist the Council in this regard. Work is currently being undertaken on a clear plan of action which will also address timescales. With regard to the governance and accountability of the recommendations relating to the Martin Smith report and Alvin Nelson Associates report, the Council has accepted those recommendations. The recommendations relating to the public interest report into the Council's highway and engineering services contract will be considered by the Council under item 7 this evening. As I have already mentioned, the Council has established an improvement board with clear terms of reference, which along with Cabinet and Council will ensure that all recommendations are implemented fully and in a timely manner. In item C, you asked what is being done to involve the public in the consultation and decision-making processes surrounding the issues in Parts A and B and communicate effectively with them. There are statutory processes that must be followed in relation to the 3 statutory officers who have been suspended following the publication of the public interest report into the Council's highways and engineering services contract. These matters inevitably involve sensitive and confidential information, and it is important that the Council ensures that they are dealt with properly, fairly and expeditiously. As I am sure we understand and would expect, there is no provision within those statutory processes that allows for or requires the public to be consulted or be involved in any decisions taken. The statutory process has been outlined in the report to be considered by Council under agenda item 8. It would not be appropriate to comment any further. With regards to the Improvement Board, it periodically holds its meetings in public, which provides an opportunity for the public to be involved and engaged in how the Council implements the various recommendations relating to improving corporate governance and accountability. With regard to item D, the final part of your question, what are the projected cost savings at improving governance, for example, reduction in legal costs and benefits to the rural public of the changes being made? It is not possible to provide details of the cost savings requested. The Council is committed to improving its corporate governance arrangements and will ensure that all recommendations are fully and effectively implemented. However, a budget item of £300,000 has been identified and will be discussed at the Improvement Board when it meets this coming Friday, with a view to identifying the most appropriate use of that resource to comply with the recommendations, and if further funding is required to ensure we do so, then it will be considered at the appropriate time. And I trust that answers your question perfectly, Mr. Rice. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer.
Supplementary, Mr. Rice.
Yes, it's not sure that the fact field should be noticed. The supplementary is how will you manage to change the culture of the authority? Because obviously a lot of these reports concentrated on things like when in the Martin Smith report, the bullying of employees who go to grievances and things like that, and obviously has a chilling effect on future whistleblowers because they feel they can't come forward to say what their careers. So how will that be changed?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Clearly within the improvement plan, which I'm going to be addressing Council on shortly, there are in the improvement plan some clearly defined actions that will be taken under the 5 priorities which have been identified by the Improvement Board as requiring action, and within those there will be action plans brought forward to ensure that appropriate training is given where that
to report on, I think, some notable issues that we were council involved in. I think the first one I'd like to just to report back to council is that on the 5th of July, the City Region Local Enterprise Partnership for LEP and partners signed the second City Deal with Government, which will bring additional investment to our City Region. And I'd just like to highlight one of the key projects is a month-long international business festival to be hosted by Wirral and Liverpool during the year of 2014. And I think this will be an excellent opportunity to showcase the many excellent businesses that we have in Wirral to the rest of the world. And I think the whole event will be a great opportunity for us to promote with the help we give to businesses, the excellent businesses that we've got, and we'll lever in additional investment into the City Region. So I think that's a really positive announcement last week. Secondly, again, announced last week, the government approved the Liverpool City Region as a centre for offshore renewable engineering. We were the first city region on the west coast to be awarded this status, and this is a particular award that's been selected following submission to government by the LEP. It involves particularly Camberlard, with Peel, and the three local authorities of Ourselves and Sefton, and it basically means that businesses looking to invest in this sector for offshore renewables will receive a comprehensive package of support. So I thank Camberlard and I thank our officers for their hard work in obtaining this status, and I look forward to further developments. Thirdly, Mr. Mayor, I'm pleased to announce Wirral's performance on recycling past the 40% mark recently, and this month saw Wirral's first eco-school convention hosted by People's Church High and our own eco-school officer, Lynn Struve. So congratulations to everybody involved in that. Another positive announcement recently was the awarding of a university technical college to Birkenhead. That will receive some investment of some 9 million in mainly the former Ferry High School site, with a satellite at the Maritime Engineering College down at Nooks Ferry. This will be 500 place, 14 to 18 college, hopefully opening in September 2013, and will provide high quality vocational training in maritime engineering led by employers, and again Camberlard has been at the forefront of that, and again I'd like to thank Frank Field because he's been a great advocate of that college, and I congratulate him and the rest of the team on that award. I should mention the very positive peer review which we recently had of our Adult Social Services Department. Well, there'll be a detailed report on this to our Cabinet on the 19th of July, but it was some very positive messages back around improvements in that department, and I thank Greg Hodkinson and the rest of the team for the really positive outcomes from that. And then finally, I'd just like to mention the excellence of the work we're doing in promoting Wirral's heritage. And I think that's evidenced by the fact that we are this year holding 73 Heritage Open Days compared to 60 last year, and that puts us as one of the councils with the largest Heritage Open Day programmes in the country. A big thank you to Eileen Wilshaw, our Heritage Officer, and also Councillor Jerry Williams, our Heritage Champion. Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. That's item 48 announcements. We're going right on to item 6 now, which I think Councillor Davis, you were going.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 6 is the appointment of interim chief exec and executive and head of paid service. As hopefully members will by now know, we are recommending the appointment tonight of Graham Burgess to the post of chief exec and head of paid service for a period of 2 years. I am delighted that Graham will be Graham is currently Chief Executive of Blackburn and Darwin Council, which has consistently been recognised as one of the highest performing councils in the UK. During Graham's time there, the authority has twice received the prestigious Council of the Year title, and Graham was also recognised nationally in 2011-12 when he was voted the fourth most influential person in local government. I'm not sure who the other three were, but Graham has significant experience in leading a major authority. He's had previous involvement as a social worker in Liverpool, but also he's led major regeneration projects, and obviously in his time at Blackburn he's got a successful track record of delivering excellent services. He's also one of only 3 people in the country to hold the dual role of Council and Primary Care Trust Chief Executive. And I think his experience in leading the integration of local authority and health services will be a great benefit as responsibility clearly for public health functions transfer to Wirral the next year. So I am absolutely delighted that Graham will be joining us. I know the other 2 leaders will want to make a statement as well, but I suppose I would just formally like to propose that the Council appoints Graham Burgess as the Council's Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service for a period of 2 years. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would be delighted to be able to second the Legal Council's recommendation. I'm delighted that we've been able to appoint a Chief Executive with a track record of success that Graham has. Clearly, he has the knowledge and experience to drive the changes needed to make sure this council improves to become an organisation where residents expect and deserve, and I think that we all want it to be. Graham is, of course, coming in with his eyes wide open, because, of course, he's been a key part of the improvement board that's been operating, so has a clear understanding of the issues, the underlying issues that the council has. And so, again, that's even more commendable that he applied to take on this role. So, as Phil has mentioned, I look forward to working with Graham to tackle the many challenges the council faces and working with all parties to ensure that we can become the efficient, open and transparent organisation we all believe we should be. So I'm happy to second that nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is with great pleasure and delight that I support this proposal. I do think that it is an indication that we have got the ability to work together unanimously when the occasion demands it, and I hope we continue that way, because that was the way this laid out our store when we asked him to take the job. So I hope that we are going to be consistent on that. I feel that we have got an excellent Chief Executive, and really whether in fact we obtain everything that we want is as much due to us as to him. So delighted he is here, and I hope that after 2 years is equally as delighted as he is now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. So that's proposed and seconded by the new party leaders. No, we don't have any debate on that, so could we have a vote on that? Those in favour of the motion? Okay, anybody against? Anybody abstaining? Okay, that's unanimously carried.
Mr. Mayor, I'm delighted to say that Graham is actually here tonight. With your permission, I'd like to invite him into the council chamber to take his place with the other chief officers and congratulate him on his appointment if you're agreeing with that.
Why would you say no? I think it's a lovely idea, so is it possible to attract his attention?
three items. The first three items for the agenda, item 14, keep debated, then we go to each other's right.
That's agreed. First three items, and then it goes to the right. Right. We're now going to move on to item 7. And before we actually move into the item proper, the just going to make a comment. Well, give us some advice.
The comment related to both item 7 and item 8, principally in relation to item 8, in that it may be such that council may need to do a private session in relation to item 8 in order to receive some advice in relation to that particular item. It also gives me the opportunity to inform you that because the recommendations in item 8 make reference to myself, I will exclude myself from that particular item, but we do have Francis Woodhead, who's solicitor, NHS, and appointment NHS solicitors, who will provide advice to council in relation to item 8.
Okay, so the recommendation is that we move into private session to discuss in due course. Yeah. So we go back onto you, Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I rise to make a statement with regard to item 7, and then my party leaders also wish to make a statement, and then I'm happy to go along with the recommendations of the head of legal and member services. Speaking to item 8, Mr. Mayor, clearly the public interest report on the Highways and Engineering Services contract details significant failings in the corporate governance surrounding the award of the Council's Highways and Engineering Services contract, known as HESRI in 2008. I'd like to begin by thanking the District Auditor for all the work that he and his team have carried out in concluding this report. It is rare for a council leader to welcome a public interest report, particularly one that deals with concerns that go to the very heart of the governance of Wirral Council, but I do welcome it. Council has received a number of critical reports over the past few years. I won't detail them again, they're familiar to all of us. What is clear is that collectively we have failed to face up to our mistakes. We've not in the past viewed critical reports or indeed concerns raised by whistleblowers as opportunities to improve. We've produced detailed action plans that we've often failed to implement fully, properly, and have failed to ensure that those who need to are held to account. So it's my duty, together with the other party leaders and actually every single member of this council, to ensure that this report is dealt with very differently. And I'd like to take this opportunity, as I did earlier on, to thank Jeff Green and Tom Harley for their cooperation and support in dealing with this important matter. So this council meeting is not business as usual. It's important that the way in which we deal with this report sends a clear message that the culture of this organisation is changing. In the future, we will learn from our mistakes. We will put the interests of our residents at the very centre of all that we do. We will respect those who complain, treat them with respect and act on and learn from what they tell us. Now, item 8 on tonight's agenda deals with how we will proceed to investigate further the role of our statutory officers in this matter. And it is important to remember that the action taken to suspend 4 senior officers in connection with issues raised by the public interest reports, as I said earlier, is a neutral act that will enable the Council to investigate matters fully and properly. It would not be appropriate to discuss this report at any length at this time, given the rights of the individuals concerned. Suffice to say, those who should be held to account will be. I therefore wish to move, following resolution which the head of legal and member services has circulated previously to all members, but we'll have to just amend it slightly to deal with the issue that Mr. Tor raised. So, firstly, I move that the Council acknowledges and accepts the findings and all recommendations set out in the public interest report. That we refer the report for further consideration to the Executive, appropriate committees and subcommittees of the Council and the Council's Improvement Board, or any other relevant body considered appropriate by the Executive. That Council agrees to amend the terms of reference of the Improvement Board to include consideration of the public interest report we note the actions taken already by the Council in relation to the public interest report and our commitment to take all necessary steps to improve our public governance arrangements. I'd also like to propose that the recommendations 5 and onwards in the report be considered under item 8 when we will move into private session. In closing, Mr. Mayor, can I just say that when I became leader of the Council, I made it clear that in order to move the Council forward, it was necessary to address honestly and openly where failings had occurred in the past. That's why, following discussions with the other 2 party leaders, I've already taken the action I've outlined. These actions were difficult for me personally, but I took them because I believe they were in the interests of the Council and this borough. And as leader, I'm determined that working in partnership with all elected members and the improvement forward, our improvement journey needs to gather pace. And I think the appointment of Graham Burgess as our new Chief Executive, ratified in the last item by Council, I think is a major step in this process. So I'd like to leave it there, and I know the other 2 leaders will make a statement, but I will commend this motion to Council and hope that it can be endorsed unanimously. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd certainly like to second for the leader of the Council resolution being put to Council, and also to share with him the fact that I too welcome this report and give from my assurance that I'll work with him and the Improvement Board and across their parties to implement recommendations that this report has made. Because, Mr. Mayor, as the District Auditor makes clear in his conclusions, quote, the weaknesses he has identified in his public interest report are indicative of similar failings identified in other reports issued to the Council. Mr. Mayor. My approach to these matters in Council are not new. Indeed, I've made it clear for some time that Council must be open and transparent and hold people to account where necessary. The needs of residents and businesses must be our overriding priority. Too often, Mr. Mayor, the needs of staff, residents and businesses have not been safeguarded because of the manner in which the Council has operated.
We came to you.
In fact,
We came to you. You knew about it 2 years ago or more, and you did nothing.
As I was saying earlier on, this isn't a public meeting. And if you interrupt again, we're going to have to clear the gallery. So please be quiet. Please.
so as I was saying, Mr. Mayor, too often the needs of staff, residents and businesses have not been safeguarded because of the manner in which this Council has operated. Indeed, the very culture of this Council has damaged people's interests. Mr. Mayor, we must all now focus on ensuring that officers and members alike act together to ensure the recommendations of this report are acted upon and embedded in the way we act, and that this Council never again lets down those who we were elected to serve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am pleased to second and support the motion of the leader of the Council. On behalf of the Liberal Democrat Group, I fully support the actions taken by the leader. He has discussed these actions with both myself and with Councillor Jeff Green. I welcome the progress that has been made in investigating the underlying issues in the report. Mr. Mayor, we need real and cultural change. If we do not make this change, we will not be able to deliver an effective response to this public interest report. We must positively encourage staff to come forward with concerns, but just as importantly with suggestions as how we make improvements in our services. I think that we need to make sure that we deal with the bullying that has been reported over recent years. We must be honest about the challenges we face and work together where it is possible to address them. I believe a change in culture must be embraced not just by staff, but more importantly, by all of us here in the chamber this evening. My group pledge to work together across all parties to help deliver the real change that we need. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. This doesn't go to the account.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move the amended resolution, which I think has been circulated to all members.
You all have a chance to see the resolution. Those in favour of the resolution? Those against? No abstentions. That resolution is passed. Good. Okay, well, that having been passed, the council is going to go into private session for a short time. Yes. In view of the legal advice that we should be given, I feel that we should now have a vote of councillors that we agree to go into private session. Those in favour are now going into private session. Those against? One, two against. Okay. Still agreed, okay, still agreed. Can I just say to the public, we're really sorry to have to do this. What's this strong legal advice? We will invite you back in a few minutes, so please stay around.